Welcome to the Vergecast, the flagship podcast of using AI to run really, really, really fast. I'm your friend David Pierce, and I am in New York. I'm in, I believe it's called Podcast 2 in our office in downtown New York, a room I have literally never been in before in my life, I don't think. But it's nice in here. It's a podcast studio. So I'm here. We are here making season 2 of Version History. We're having a ton of fun making these episodes, and I cannot wait for you to hear them. But none of that is what we're here to talk about today. Today, we are here to talk about two things. First, I'm going to interview Nick Thompson, who is the CEO of The Atlantic and my old boss back when I used to work at Wired, about a book that he wrote about running, and more specifically, what he's like as a runner. We've talked a lot about exercise on this podcast, and he does it real differently. So we're going to talk about it. Then I'm going to talk to The Verge's John Higgins. He's our new AV reviewer, and he has a lot of thoughts about TVs. And this is a big week in the world of TVs for lots of us buying them and changing them and watching them. So we're going to talk TVs. All of that is coming up in just a second. But first, I have to figure out how to steal all those fake plants out of this room. Wish me luck. This is the Vergecast. We'll be right back. Welcome back. So the conversation I'm about to have is with Nick Thompson, who is, like I said, the CEO of The Atlantic. He used to be the editor-in-chief of Wired. He worked at The New Yorker. He is maybe even more than all of those things, the fastest person I know in real life. He once told me, and I think he'd probably deny saying this, when he was about to run the New York Marathon, I said, "Oh, cool, I'm going to be there. When should I look for you?" And he was like, "Well, there's the group of people who might win, and then there's going to be a small gap, and then there's going to be me." And he said this like completely just nonchalant about how fast he was as a runner. And that was true. That's where he was. So that's Nick. And we've talked a lot on this show about how to approach exercise and how to think about workout technology and how to integrate it in your life in a way that is like helpful and functional and makes sense. Nick thinks about this stuff differently. Nick is trying to be fast, and Nick is trying to win, and Nick is willing to do anything and everything to be very fast. He also just wrote this really lovely book called The Running Ground, A Father, a Son, and the Simplest of Sports. It's a terrific book. It's about running. It's about what running means. It's about the process of running. I didn't want to ask him about that stuff so much as I wanted to ask him about all of the crazy gear that he uses to run. So I invited Nick on to talk about running and technology and how to be a person in the world and also a psychotic runner. We had a really fun time, and there's actually, if you're a person who wants to run fast, there's a lot in here for you. So I hope you enjoy this as much as I did. Let's get into it. Nick Thompson, welcome to the Vergecast.
David, it is amazing to see you.
This is very exciting. You have been my boss 2 different times. You are not currently with my boss, but I do make a podcast with my current boss. So this feels very natural to me at this point. So I brought you here. You wrote this book. It's wonderful. I was saying to you just before we started recording, this is not like a kind of book that is on a subject that I care deeply about. I think running is like punishment. I grew up playing team sports for which if you did something wrong, you had to run. So the idea of like running being nice and fun is just outrageous to me. But I enjoyed every page of this book, and I think people should read it. But I've brought you here mostly to talk about you as a runner, because I think we talk a lot about like the quantified self and exercise and what it means to have a good relationship with technology and your body and the outdoors. And I feel like you are a perfect person trying to navigate all of this all at once. Yeah, I just want to talk about it. And there's a bunch of this in the book, but I want to talk about more of it even than just that. Does that sound right?
Sounds awesome.
Okay, so this may be the wrong place to start, but the like philosophical question that kept coming up to me throughout this whole book is, you think of running as this sort of like transcendent, beautiful thing that you do to be away from screens, to be outdoors, to process your thoughts, to just sort of be. And you track every second of every run that you do in Strava, and it is, and you are this like incredibly meticulous, super optimized runner. How can it possibly be both of those things at the same time?
You have 2 different modes. And so I have many different modes when I run. I do have optimization mode, and I do have like spiritual mode. And so when I'm running out in the woods or I'm running a mountain, I'm not actually tracking my heart rate. I'm not tracking my cadence. I'm not worrying too much about what time it is. And in fact, I've run races where I've literally turned my watch off where I'm running in the mountains. When I'm running on the roads and I'm trying to get fast, I'm tracking my heart rate. I'm tracking everything. I'm comparing it to previous workouts. And so, there's this interesting thing in running where sometimes even in the same race or even in the same mile, you want to like associate, you want to really lock in, you want to understand what's happening in your body. You want to get, okay, how am I breathing? Like, how does that feel? Am I breathing efficiently? Am I moving efficiently? Where is the pain? Like, are my hips centered underneath my head? What is my cadence? What is my heart rate? What is my body temperature? And there are other times, like maybe even 30 seconds after that, where you just let yourself go and you're like, I'm not thinking about any of that. Like, I'm like releasing my mind and I'm just circling above Nick and watching him run. And I go back and forth between these modes.
So I want to let's talk like gear all the way at the end of the spectrum here. When you're in like peak training mode and you want to know every single bit of information about yourself.
Yeah.
What's on your body while you're running?
So I'll give you a hierarchy, right? So I'm wearing a Garmin watch because absolutely essential and it's incredible, right? And it's like, you can use it to navigate home. You can use it to measure pace. You can have pace per mile. You can have average pace. You can have cadence. You can have every single data field you want. It's like hyper optimized, hyper organized. That essential. I wear a Coros armband and I wear it, this is important, on my upper arm or my bicep. Because if you wear it on your wrist, heart rate monitor on your wrist is inaccurate because your wrist is moving, there's bone, it's very confusing for the heart rate for the wrist to be going like this. And so you get inaccurate readings. And so people are like, my God, I can't track my heart rate. Well, you're wearing it in the wrong place. So that's essential. I wear a core temperature monitor to tell me my body temperature. Kind of useful, maybe not so useful, right? Like I don't look at it that much, but I've started to use it this year because heat adaptability is really important. And I'm trying to get more data and learn from that. Sometimes I wear a stride power meter on my shoe. I don't track that in races. I use that to determine which shoes I should wear in a race. So before a race, I'll go to a track and I'll take like 4 pairs of shoes and I'll try to see which shoes I can wear that require the least power and the lowest heart rate to run a given pace. So I'll go out, let's say like it's before a 50-mile race and I know I'm going to run 640s. I'll go to the track and I'll run 2 miles in pair A, 2 miles in pair B, 2 miles in pair C, 2 miles in pair D. I'll then track what was my heart rate, what was my power output while I ran, and then that'll determine which shoes I wear in the race. Because every shoe and what I really should do is like wear it on the particular course or the surface, but you can't really do it on a road because then people will steal your shoes, right? So you have to do it like
weird, what is this pile of really expensive shoes just sitting
here?
Like
what is this, like a New Balance prototypes right here? Woohoo, right? So I do it on a track, which isn't perfect. And then I also have a sensor that I can wear on my, it's a Running Dynamics pod, and I'll wear it on my waist sometimes. And I wear it more when I'm like coming back from an injury, but it'll tell you like what your cadence was. It'll tell you how much time you spent in the air. And it'll tell you what I like is, did I land on my left and right sides equally? But really, essentially, the only two things, like you could take away every single thing except for my heart rate monitor or my watch, and I'd be fine.
Why those two?
So the heart rate monitor, so the watch just because it's got everything. And the heart rate monitor, the last 6 years, I'm tracking my heart rate every time. So if I'm running a marathon, I know that my heart rate should be, at mile 5, my heart rate should be roughly 130, right? At mile 15, it should be roughly 140. At mile 23, it should be roughly 150, right? And my best races are that. And if I'm like off that track in a 50-mile race, I know that if my heart rate goes above 130 in the first 25 miles, I'm cooked, right? I can't do that. I have enough data from enough races and I can see like where I've performed precisely what my heart rate should be. And so in the last New York Marathon, I was tracking my heart rate. My heart rate was fine because my cardiovascular system was good. It was just, I couldn't breathe. So like my heart rate data looks amazing, right? I ran like a reasonably fast marathon at like an average heart rate of like 117, which is nothing. But that's because the rest of me was just garbage.
Fair.
Yeah.
So the data collection of all of this and then the sort of putting together all of the data into insights is part of what really interests me. Because a thing that I've experienced and that we hear about all the time is we all have these tools that generate an increasing amount of data and they give me numbers. And the question of what those numbers actually mean, A, and then B, what I'm supposed to do about them is massively complicated, right? Like we talk about this with sleep scores all the time. Like a thing that tells me I didn't sleep very well is actually of pretty minimum value because I'm sort of aware of when I do and don't sleep well already. But I feel like you've crossed the chasm into like, what to do with this spreadsheet that comes off of your body every single time you go for a run. Is that just an unbelievable amount of time doing this that got you here? Like, how did you learn to make sense of all this data?
That it's such a great question, David, because the challenge is to like learn what data matters and what data doesn't. Right? And there's lots of data that doesn't. Like my Garmin, I love my Garmin, devoted to my Garmin. it has all kinds of crap data. Like I don't know what the TRIMP score even means. I don't follow my TRIMP score, right? And so the trick is knowing what's right and what's wrong. And it's not like absolute faith in all the data. And I got there in part by experimenting a lot, paying attention a lot, building these spreadsheets, tracking these things, and then having smart people advising me. You know, Strava is this amazing historical artifact. It also like stores the weather, it stores the wind, right? So you can adjust for that. But there are other parts of it. Strava's AI is the worst, you know, blazing fast intervals out. I mean, just like worst sycophantic, useless information, right? So you learn what is good, what is bad.
Tell me about one of the experiments. Like when you go out to be like, I'm going to discover a new thing about myself as a runner. What does that look like?
Usually it's trying something new. So the way I train, which is pretty interesting, is my theory of pain is that your brain has a thermostat and it's taking in all of these inputs and it's determining whether it's scared based on those inputs. So it's measuring your body temperature, it's measuring your heart rate, it's measuring, you know, hydrogen ion buildup and all that stuff. It's building like gastric distress, right? And there's like 100 systems in your body. And if any of them is feeling a level of stress that it hasn't felt before, your brain's thermostat kicks in and it starts sending pain signals, maybe there, maybe elsewhere, right? And pain is physical, it is real, but it's also psychological. And so the way I train is I try to stress all of those signals more in the process of building up, then they'll be stressed on race day, right? So I'll run when I'm dehydrated, right? I'll run when I will go have a big meal. I'll go eat like a bunch of Indian food, right? And then I'll go run 10 miles, right? Just so my body knows what it's like. Like, I don't quite know what I'm simulating, but it's not a good thing that I'm simulating, right? I did an experiment the other day where it was the day my whoop score was 2.
Okay.
Not 1. And I was like, you know what? I feel like garbage. Like my head is pounding, right? Like I feel horrible. But I'm going to go run, not because I'm a psychopath and I'm addicted to running, or maybe 20% because of that.
It's a little bit that.
A little bit of that.
Yeah.
But I was like, there's going to be real physiological benefits to running when I feel so terribly, because when else can you simulate the last 10 miles of a 50 miler? Like you can't do that just on a Tuesday morning in Prospect Park. You can do that on a day you wake up with a whoop score of 2 out of 100. And so I was like, I'm just going to like make my brain remember what it's like to run with a pounding headache. And, you know, that's not the way most people train, but I think it's actually a pretty good way to train. Like most people are like, I'm going to optimize all the details. I'm going to run like the best time of day, you know, and I'm going to run in like the best clothes, and I'm going to run with the right amount of hydration, the right amount of food. And I'm like, I'm going to try to get everything wrong and then go do it.
Interesting. How far do you think you can get on that kind of thing by yourself? I mean, there's this big sort of turn in the book when you start training with Nike and you start training with like people who do this all day, every day for a living. And like the vocabulary you use to describe your running changes at that moment, right? And so it's very clear that like I'm now with people who think about this differently. I'm going to learn how to think about it differently. But I'm curious, do you think you could have gotten some or all of the way to the same kinds of things with this process you're describing?
Yeah, it's so interesting, right? Like when I've had someone else tracking me, I've succeeded like 95% of the time. When I've done it myself, I've succeeded like 25% of the time. Like there's just a huge delta. And it's weird because I'm doing the exact same workouts. And like I had a coach tracking me, but we would like email once every 2 weeks. But there's something about having someone else, you know, really supervising you and telling you what to do and telling you to back off, even if it's just a simple text message, or telling you to hammer a little hard, or telling you that these workouts matter the most. There's something about having that person there that really has made a difference to me.
Do you think that is just about the like external person that is out there? I mean, I'm trying to think like, you know, there's lots of people who will join these sort of online accountability clubs, right? Like one of my favorite examples is students who get on and do their homework with somebody else on Zoom, and you just sit there quietly. It's just a forcing function to make you do something. It sounds like just that idea, even at its most base level, is very powerful for you.
I think so. And I wonder whether it's, you know, my problem is never that I won't do something, right? If I don't have someone who's holding me accountable, I won't do the workouts.
You are not an unmotivated person. I've learned this about you over time.
But the problem is that I might do too many workouts, right? Like I might do what's called a double threshold, where you do a workout in the morning, you do a workout in the afternoon. And if I know the coach is checking my schedule, like I probably won't do the double threshold.
Oh, interesting.
And so,
okay.
It's like having the person on to do your homework, but what they're actually accountable for is making you go to bed at 11.
Mhm.
So
Okay.
I do think that makes a big difference. I do think just having someone, who is going to look at what workouts you did that week and just say, hey, go harder, go easier is pretty useful.
What do you make of technology solutions to that? I think about like the workout buddy that's now on the Apple Watch, and everybody has their own versions of these things that are trying to be sort of lightly prescriptive with technology about how you can do this stuff. Is there something in that for you?
There might be. I've created a custom GPT where I've uploaded my running goals, and I'll like upload my diet. I'll like ask it lots of questions. I'll say, this is the workout I did. What pace do you think I should run? I uploaded a whole bunch of data, including my, HRV, heart rate, Whoop scores before the New York Marathon, asked it for advice. So I have like a custom GPT that's a good coach, or that's a decent coach. But it doesn't match actual coaches.
Okay.
And then a lot of these workout buddies, they're like kind of smarmy and annoying and sycophantic, and like no one's quite got the personality right. Like, it's like what I said about Strava AI. Like, I do not want like saccharine encouragement. That's like not what I need.
Yeah.
I need like, if Strava AI was like, hey, that's a workout you've done 7 times, right? Like that's your second to worst one, but like it was kind of windy out and like you had a hard last couple of days, I would take 2 days. Like that would be useful, but that's not what you got.
No, instead it's like, you go, girl, great job. And you're like, thank you.
Like,
we've accomplished nothing.
Right. Yeah.
Tell me about this custom GPT. Give me all the details of this thing. Like, how did you set this thing up?
Yeah, I said, okay, so, I set it up when I was trying to set the American record in the 50 mile. I had this big race in April, and I probably set it up in January. And I was like, this is my goal. This is what I've run before. These are my paces. Every day I would upload my food. This is what I ate. This is what I did. It would tell me like, do this, do that. It would tell me like, eat more of this. I'd be like, I'm feeling this way. It would say, okay, it looks like I don't know, maybe make sure you have some L-citrulline, right? And I would tell it like what supplements I take. It would analyze like, okay, how many grams of L-citrulline should I be taking? I'd ask it like what I should do on the road. I'd tell it like, I'm going to be in a hilly course. Like, how do I do this? So I would ask it for advice on like making sure I ran proper tangents. It was great. It's like super smart AI. It helped guide me, and almost got it, but I didn't get the record.
Yeah. What did it tell you or give you or do for you that was surprising?
It was just, it was the nutrition stuff was awesome, right? It's understanding of like what you need to eat, and like actually, there's this moment where I was like, I had my hematocrit levels measured, and
I don't even know what that is, but I believe you.
Yeah, so hematocrit and hemoglobin are basically measures of something in the blood that allows you to carry oxygen. You want that number to be as high as possible, right? And so like the reason cyclists blood dope is they're trying to increase their hematocrit and hemoglobin levels. Like the reason you train at altitude is to increase your hematocrit and hemoglobin levels. The reason you do saunas is that your body like moves blood to the skin in order to cool you. The blood in your core compensates by increasing its hematocrit level so it can carry more oxygen to the muscles, right? So it's this measure of this thing you really want. And mine was in like the 30th percentile, right? And it's partly genetic. It's partly because I've been, I haven't eaten red meat since I was 10. Who knows why it is? I live at sea level. So the dietary advice, like this is how you increase your hematocrit. This is what you should eat. This is when you should take iron supplements. Like it was great, right? Like it knows so much about nutrition. I didn't get my hematocrit levels tested, but given how well I ran in that race, probably the best race of my life, like, did something.
I am curious, like when you go into something like that, even as you're setting up this custom GPT, like you think about AI at a bunch of levels in your life. Like you were on Decoder not that long ago talking about deals you're making professionally with OpenAI to think about how do we make this stuff work as a publishing industry. Like this is a thing that is on your mind. What do you go into building this custom GPT thinking? Like I am going to take this thing as gospel truth because it has all the data about me, or like let's just see what this idiot computer knows, or somewhere in between?
As with anything, the less you know about a topic, the more valuable it is. So
sure.
Like that's why the nutrition was so useful. Like I know a bit about so what AI has, it has infinite knowledge about nutrition, and like I have minimal or little, right? Or medium, right?
Sure.
On like workout paces, it doesn't know. Like I'm better at the workout paces. Like it can't structure a workout for me. And also like I find its tone so annoying. Like, okay, well, why don't you try 7 by 1,000 and then 4 by like shut the
Yeah.
you know? And so it was like I know enough about AI to know where it's helpful and to know where it's useless. And I also know that it's going to tell me like if you ask it about any supplement, it will tell you to take it, right? Like,
Yes.
like here are 400 supplements. Which should I take? It'll give you all 400, right? Or if you ask it yes or no, should I take it? But if you give it like what I would do is I would say like give me a hierarchy, right? Of these 8 things, which is the number one most important? Or like, okay, during the race of these 6 options, how would you rank them, right? And then you can use it in a way to get the most out of it. So like my view of AI is incredible tool, amazing tool, super fast, super useful. Figure out where it's helpful, figure out how to prompt it, figure out how to get the best out of it, and also know that it's going to have weaknesses and it's going to annoy you.
So, and as you think about all this stuff, where is your tolerance between like building a thing that works and then doing the thing that works over and over and over and over again? Not in like a superstitious way, but in like a this is the stuff that I know works, I'm going to keep doing it way, versus like relentlessly experimenting to try and get better?
Oh, such a good question. So what I do with every race is I write down what are the things I did that were new, right?
Yeah.
And so before every race, you do like, during the training cycle, you do like 5 or 10 things that are new, right? Like maybe you do double thresholds. Maybe so before Lake Warmog, which was my 50-mile race, I experimented a lot with using a sauna, right? Like I used a sauna, it's basically to increase my hematocrit and hemoglobin levels. Turned out worked great. Like I wore a new pair of shoes. I wore the Puma Fast R3s. Like they won my little track test. Those things were great, right? I did a lot of weekend doubles where I would do like 20 miles on Saturday, 20 miles on Sunday, right? And so what's interesting is that there's a psychological bias or a bias where you have a race and the race worked out well and you did 10 things differently during training. So you assume all 10 were right, whereas actually like it might have been the case that 2 were right and 8 were neutral, or like who knows? So then you do the next race and you do those 10 plus you add some other ones, right? And then you determine like what worked and what didn't work. And over time, you figure out the systems. And so over time, I've basically realized that my body can handle 70 miles a week. And if I go more than that, I run 75 or run 80, like I get injured. Not always, it's not like immediate, and I might get injured at 70, but that's like the threshold, right? And I've learned that over a bunch of races. I've learned like, here are things that are good to do early, here are things to do late. But to your question, essentially with every race, I add in a couple of new things and I think about, right? So like, I was really worried about the hematocrit and hemoglobin stuff. So how do I increase it? What can I do? Like, can I spend some time at altitude, right? And for the next race, like clearly what I need to do is not get a respiratory infection
That would
the
help.
week of the race.
I mean, is that like one of the sort of central tensions in the book is how you avoid letting all of this like bleed into the rest of your life, and you're like, I am a very particular kind of insane person in this part of my life, and I want to not be this particular kind of insane person in everything else. But everything you've just described is like just wants this one obsession to be the only thing that you care about because it'll make you better at everything else.
Well, except you block it out, right? So, like this is the hardest challenge, which is I love running. It's so fun, right? Like I like being fast.
Yeah, this is where you lose me. I'm with you on being fast is fun, but I don't want to run enough to be fast.
Well, right. But like also, if I devoted my whole life to running, right? And like it's all I did, right? And I like optimized every variable and I like got as good as I could do. Like, what would be my annual income? It would be like $2,500, right? Like, I would get like $50 for coming at like winning the Masters race at the like Dash for Donuts. I don't know.
Like,
I'm not
wins like 10 turkey trots every Thanksgiving. Part of the reason I ask is one of the things we've talked about a bunch on the show is the problematic like streak type things that you get with a lot of these things, and the Apple Watch ring closing stuff, and the way that all of these tech tools in particular try to incentivize you. They're basically like engagement hacking metrics, which is
totally.
so dangerous for a lot of these things, and also just like makes you feel bad. And there's this sense of like, it goes back to this sort of like transcendence versus optimization thing. You're like, I want to do this well and I want to be good at it, but I'm also a whole person outside of this app.
Yeah.
And that's just a really hard balance to strike, I think, both like on your devices and just like as a human in the world.
Yeah. You have to, I remember you wrote a great piece at Wired when I was there. It was like, turn off all your notifications now, all of them, right? I can't remember what the headline was, but it was
It was
like,
basically that.
it was like, just don't screw around. Like, it's not like you should keep some and not others. Like, you should actually just turn them all off, right? Which is great advice, and I like tell my kids, like, okay, you can have a phone, but just no notifications, right? Like, that stuff is garbage, right? It's evil. And with running, you have to make sure that you don't get addicted, that you don't get pulled in, that there's not something that like you're too obsessed with, like a variable. You're too obsessed with how many miles a week did I run? Did I run more than this person? Where am I in my like club ranking? Where am I in the Strava ranking? Did I get this segment? Did I lose this segment? Right? You got to let that stuff go. And sometimes it can be motivating, but if you don't have a balance in all of that, you're cooked.
Yeah. Is there anything you found on that front that does work for you? The motivational tools or the notifications telling you to get back at it? Like, is there anything that actually has helped you?
No, none of it.
Really?
There's not a single notification or tool. I mean, the thing that I like, Strava segments are great, right? And like, if you need motivation to go and like, I I often like say that I have like a very stoic attitude, but like the notion of like one of those old ancient stoics going out, like trying to win the Strava segment for fastest time up
Sure.
Bramley Mountain, right? Like, but that's cool. It's fun. It's like fun to like race past versions of yourself, and it's fun to race, other people on different days, and you lose it. You can't get too upset. But it's cool. It's like a good way. If I need a workout if I've traveled to a new place, I need a workout, I need some motivation, maybe I'll look and like, okay, there's a 2-mile segment here. I'm going to try to win it.
Okay. That counts. I like that.
Yeah.
All right. So I need to let go here in a few minutes, but I have one just big, broad technology question for you before we go.
Please.
Catch me up on shoe technology. This is a thing that I would say I come to like once a year when somebody makes a shoe that is like so fast it's illegal. But you I know pay close attention to this. What's the newest thing in fast shoes?
So there are a couple of new things in fast shoes. One is like gigantic stack height, right? And so like the amount of like the between the ground and your heel, right?
Like
and that's where like
shoes, basically.
They look like platform shoes, but like
Okay.
Nike has the new has these like incredible shoes with gigantic stack height that have been ruled like illegal in races. But they're wonderful for recovery, right? And they take a lot of pressure off your knees. And I use them it's called the Romero Premium is the one with the gigantic stack. And I like them for recovery. If like my legs hurt, I have a little tendonitis in my knee, I'll go out in the premiums. There's some weird things, right? You have that giant stack height. The weirdest thing to me is like running through a puddle, right? Because you don't know where your foot is,
Sure.
And they're hard on like corners, right? And so you wouldn't want to run them. Wouldn't want to run them in like a course where you're like a lot of S's. But if you're running just like flat down a road, they're amazing. So that's something. And then shoe technology basically stayed the same from like 1970 until 2015. Where the only difference is, it really matters how light your shoe is, right? If you think of your foot as a pendulum, like an extra mass at your center of gravity means very little, right? So if you're carrying weight, like if you're carrying like a pouch or bag, you put it your center of mass around your waist, you're fine. You put extra weight on your head, you put extra weight on your feet, and it's a real burden to efficiency, right? And so, right, like running is essentially power output multiplied by efficiency divided by mass. And so if you are like changing your ability to move efficiently, that's the second variable. If you're increasing your mass, that's the third variable. We always only focus on the first one, which is your power output, right? Your ability to like put force into the ground to propel you forward. So anyway, back to shoes, lighter shoes have always been better. What happened and what Nike figured out, now everybody else has figured out, is that there always was a trade-off between like cushion and mass, right? It used to be you needed more cushion in order to get more protection, but that meant more mass. And so like you get incredibly light material. You started with airplane insulation. You get incredibly light material in the shoe, and you get a lot of support without a lot of mass. And so now people are playing with different variables. So, there's also the other thing people figured out is you put a little spoon in the front of the shoe, and it like kind of increases your Achilles rebound. And
Sure.
the initial designs had the like spoon kind of straight on, and now it seems like maybe like spoon slightly angled. And so I think that was what Puma did with their new R3s, which have been the shoes that have tested really well in the lab. So anyway, everybody has different kinds of what are called super shoes, which are super light shoes with spoons in them. And so somebody like me, what you want to do is you want to like, and here's the other thing that's so important that people don't get. we all move through space differently and we all race on different surfaces. And like every shoe responds differently. Like there's shoes that are probably better for Nick on asphalt, but worse on concrete, and ones that are better on concrete and worse on asphalt. Like, are they good on a track? Are they good in sand? Are they good like on corners? And so, the trick is to identify whatever your goal is, identify the surface and like the amount of cornering you have, and then test a bunch of shoes. It's not like there's one shoe that's the best. It's like, it seems like Nike has these shoes, the Alpha Flies, right? And they're super interesting, right? So they had the Vapor Flies. Vapor Flies made everybody faster, and they came out the Alpha Flies. Alpha Flies had this big stack height. And two things. One, it turned out that like some people got much faster and other people it didn't affect at all. Like I actually am significantly slower in the Alpha Flies than the Vapor Flies. Who the hell knows why? Other people, it's the opposite. Secondly, women do better and respond better in the Alpha Flies than men do. Like, why is that, right? We don't know. Something about, well, women are a little smaller, they're a little lighter, right? Like their mass is like different, the hip angle is different, right? So if there's a difference between women and men, well, there's probably a difference between Nick and David too, right? And so it's very particular, and I don't think you can figure out which shoe is best for you until you try it out.
And is this the sort of thing that eventually ends up in like a pair of shoes that regular people buy at Foot Locker, or are like elite running shoes always going to be their very own thing with their very own needs?
I think there are elements of it. Like I think that the insulation, like the foam, right? Like lighter shoes are better for everybody, for everything, right? You really don't want a spoon in a shoe you walk around because it feels so weird.
Okay.
There's stuff like, there are days where I like I've got to go to the grocery store. It's like, hey, go to the grocery store. We need to get some potatoes. And like I look at, and I don't want to walk upstairs because I'm tired. And like my wife needs the potatoes in the next 15 minutes. And so I like have to walk to the grocery store, and the super shoes, which are the only things that are there. And it's like, well, it's weird. So
it's like trying to walk around in the shoes that clip into bikes, and you just end up sort of
totally. Or
it's tiptoeing.
Yeah. It's like in some ways it's like ice skates actually, right? It's just like it's so bizarre. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair. All right, actual last thing, and then I'm gonna let you go. Do you run with headphones?
So this gets back to the very first thing we talked about. It depends on the mode. Okay. Like
I had a feeling.
If I'm just like running to work, I'm running a 9-minute mile, who cares? Like this morning, yeah, I'm running headphones and I'm listening to whatever podcast I'm listening to. I'm listening to an audiobook.
Okay.
If I'm out on a country road, hell no, never. I'm like listening to the bluebirds, I'm listening to the sky, I'm releasing my mind. If I'm in a workout, and this is where I differ from people, no way in hell, no chance, right?
Really?
Because what I'm trying to learn is about moving my body through space at 5 minutes and 30 seconds per mile or 6 minutes per mile. And there's like neurological things that are happening. There are physiological things that are happening. Remember, I'm trying to train my brain. I'm trying to get my brain to get used to it. If my brain is like listening to hip hop, it's not learning, right? It's not like the signals aren't processing. And so you're interrupting the whole thing you're trying to do, right? You go out there. One of the things about training hard, when I train for a marathon, if you were to add up, like in a 12-week cycle, all the time where I'm going hard, which is probably where I get like 75% of the benefits, it's like 8 hours. It's not that hard, right? Because you're out there and you're like, I'm going to run 6 by 1,000 meters. That's all I'm going to do. That's 18 minutes, 19 minutes. Like it's not a lot of time. But the whole benefit is in those 19 minutes. And if you're listening to music in those 19 minutes, what are you doing? That's crazy. Like you lose a little bit of like what the point is. And so,
but there's bound to be science that says music can help you run faster. Like there are people who talk about matching the BPMs of their running pace. Like there's something to the other side of that, no?
Okay, there's potentially, this is a step beyond me. There is a theory that if you can match your cadence to your heart rate, it does something about like backflow of blood to your heart, right? And like there are like elite runners who believe this. And so they try to run at the exact cadence of their heart rate in order to, it's not about how much blood your body pumps out, but it's about like minimizing the amount of blood that like is absorbed back in or something like that. I guess theoretically you could listen to like a metronome at like 180 or whatever it is and like do better with that.
That's psychotic behavior.
I think it's possible.
I think running with nothing is bananas. Running with a metronome is like that's a level I cannot broker that.
Okay, but to your theory, David. So if I went out there, okay, let's say I'm doing 3 by a mile and I'm listening to like the most motivational music ever, right? Maybe I run the first one a little faster because I kind of block some of the pain signals. but I'm going to run the second one slower. I'm going to run the third one slower. And not only that, I'm going to have learned less in the first one than I would have if I hadn't had it on. I'm going to have absorbed the signals. It's like studying, you want to, if you're just like, I don't know, you're just like doing stuff. Maybe the music blocks out other stuff. But when I'm running and I'm training, no chance.
Fair enough. I like it. All right. Well, Nick, congrats on the book. It's really great.
Thank you,
There's
David.
so much more in it than we just talked about, so people should read it. I'll put the link in the show notes. Thanks, Nick.
All right. Awesome. Thanks.
Thank you again to Nick for being here. Read the book, The Running Ground, A Father, a Son, and the Simplest of Sports. It's very good. Like I said to Nick, I don't care at all about running. Really enjoyed the book. We're going to come right back, and we're going to talk about TVs, which ones you should buy, how you should use them, and what settings you need to turn off right away as soon as you get home for the holidays this week. We'll be right back.
Support for this show comes from LinkedIn. When you're a small business owner, your business is on your mind 24/7. So when you're hiring, you need a partner that works just as hard as you do. That hiring partner is LinkedIn Jobs. When you clock out, LinkedIn clocks in. LinkedIn makes it easy to post your job for free, share it with your network, and get qualified candidates that you can manage all in one place. LinkedIn's new features can help you write job descriptions and then quickly get your job in front of the right people with deep candidate insights. Either post your job for free or pay to promote. Promoted jobs get 3 times more qualified applicants. At the end of the day, the most important thing to your small business is the quality of candidates. And with LinkedIn, you can feel confident that you're getting the best. Based on LinkedIn data, 72% of SMBs using LinkedIn say that it helps them find high-quality candidates. Find out why more than 2.5 million small businesses use LinkedIn for hiring today. Find your next great hire on LinkedIn. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/track. That's linkedin.com/track to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply.
Support for the show comes from Crucible Moments, a podcast from Sequoia Capital. Success is never a given, especially in tech, where everything is evolving at breakneck speed. And if you're trying something that's never been done before, chances of success are even smaller. The difference between victory and catastrophe can sometimes all come down to following a counterintuitive instinct or ignoring conventional wisdom to make a bold decision. That's what Crucible Moments is all about. Crucible Moments is back with a new season telling the unlikely triumphs at tech giants like Supercell and Palo Alto Networks. New episodes out now and available everywhere you get your podcasts and at cruciblemoments.com. Listen to Crucible Moments today.
John Higgins, welcome to the Vergecast.
Thank you so much. I'm very excited to be here for the first time.
I know, this is huge. This is your audition, so don't blow it, John.
Okay. I'll do my best.
So I've brought you here because we're running this episode on the week of Thanksgiving, which means 2 things are about to happen. 1, a lot of people are about to go home and hang out with their families and try to solve various tech problems for their families.
Yeah.
2 is it's about to be Black Friday, which is the time to buy a television. One of these things that we're about to talk about is purely self-serving for me because I am currently in the market for Black Friday television, but I think so are lots of people. So I have brought a bunch of what I hope are broadly useful questions, and we're just going to plow through them. Does that sound good?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, let's just start with the most obvious one, which is what is motion smoothing and why do people need to turn it off?
Okay, so motion smoothing is trying to fix a problem that we've had since LCD TVs have been released. It wasn't as much of an issue. It wasn't really an issue at all with CRTs. But because of the way that newer TVs display images, we need a way to make it look smoother. What happens is with the new displays is it's called a sample and hold. So CRTs used to paint displays, right? That's how they would work. And by the time it got to the bottom, it went back to the top and it painted the next frame. But because of that, it wasn't holding the entire frame on screen at one time.
Right.
But that's what new TVs do. Because of that image being there, our brains want it to move. So because we have a frame and then a frame and there's no break in between, our eyes and our brains are like, wait, but there should be some sort of motion happening. It's fast enough that it sort of it tricks our brain. It's the flicker fusion threshold, if I remember the term correctly. So motion smoothing is trying to correct that. With film stuff, it just doesn't do it super successfully. We want to see film the way we've seen film for our lives, which is at 24 frames per second. When we go to the movies, that's basically what's happening. So when we see something that's 24 frames per second forced to be into a 60 frames per second, it's why it looks like video. It's why it looks like soap operas. The soap opera effect is what a lot of people call it. So it just looks unnatural to a lot of people. Some people don't care.
Right. And I just feel like the sort of thing that, like, if you don't notice it, go with God. You know what I mean? Like, it's not.
I mean,
Tom Cruise might be out here like yelling at people to turn off motion smoothing, but it feels like if you don't register it as a problem, you're fine.
Yeah.
But
lucky.
if you look at your TV and you're like, there is something slightly wrong here,
it's probably motion smoothing.
Right. And then I think I have said in the past that the better alternative is something called filmmaker mode. Give me the brief rundown on what that is.
So filmmaker mode came out a few years ago. The idea was that you could put your TV into filmmaker mode and you would get what the creator intended, right? We hear that term all the time, the creator's intent. And that's what the purpose was. And basically what it did is it just turned off processing. It turned off motion smoothing. It turned off, upscaling enhancement. It turns off a lot of stuff and just displays the image. The interesting thing I've actually been noticing recently, though, is filmmaker mode now on some TVs has motion smoothing enabled.
What?
It's a very slight one. It might be called like film enhancement or something like that. But yeah, so filmmaker mode, I mean, I recommend that you just put on filmmaker mode and it will probably make your TV look better. But you're still you might see a weird little look to the motion. And if so, it means that there's a very slight motion smoothing happening, and you'll still need to dig into those menus to turn it off, or your parents' menus when you're home for Thanksgiving to turn it off.
Got it. Okay.
Because it's still there. But for the most part, that's the best way to try and negate it.
Okay, that makes sense. So that actually leads me to my next question, which is, what is a good set of instructions to give people for, like, I take my TV out of the box, I plug it in, I turn it on. What should I do? Is it as simple as go find the filmmaker mode, turn it on, and see how that?
That's basically that's the first thing I would recommend you do.
Okay.
Get through the setup and sign into your Google or Roku or Fire or whatever, and then go into picture settings and change to filmmaker mode, or there are a few TVs that don't have filmmaker mode, so you might want to do like cinema or movie. Those are generally going to be the most accurate. Most TVs ship in a low power or energy saving mode nowadays. Some still ship in standard, but they want to meet eco requirements, and so they ship in eco modes. Those are generally changing the brightness of the TV as you watch it. Those are very cool. So whites look blue. So you kind of want to, if you want an accurate picture, you want to switch it to hopefully filmmaker, but if not that, cinema, movie, sometimes, or theater. TCL uses theater sometimes. Or if you see ISF modes, those are generally accurate. But that's the first thing you should do. And it will look warm. It will look a little red at first, but I guarantee you it's more accurate, and you'll get used to it and you'll like it. It will just look more realistic. The greens of the grass will look like grass.
Yeah. Okay. So what about people who, I think, like you were saying before, this is the kind of thing that is really geared toward specific types of things shot a specific kind of way, right? And that mostly pertains to like what we watch on television. But I also I watch a lot of sports. I play video games on my TV. Like, are TVs good enough now at sort of smartly adapting to what you're doing, or do I need to go in and like develop a bunch of presets that I can switch between every time I change activities?
Well, for like gaming, you're generally going to want the gaming mode, primarily because it's going to give you the lowest input lag, which is also because it's switching off extra processing that it doesn't need.
Sure.
Because that's what's slowing you down. Is it the most accurate color-wise? No, it's not going to be. I personally like to go, like I'll switch over to filmmaker mode. I'll look at what the settings are, particularly color temperature, which will usually be on a scale of warm to cool. And then I'll just take that setting and switch back to game mode and change the color temperature to that. So it looks redder, but a lot of people like the more bluish tint, especially for gaming. And there's extra things with gaming that can help you see better in the shadows, raising that shadow detail level a little bit, which it's not accurate, but if it keeps you from getting killed, it's worth it.
I do like the idea of playing games and just immediately cranking like brightness and contrast to 100, and I'm like, I can see in the dark, baby. Let's go.
Yeah, right. I mean, I've seen people do it.
I believe it.
Yeah.
Okay, I think that's super helpful. In terms of like the TVs themselves, I think we can sort of argue until we're blue in the face about like the full price range of televisions. But I'm curious, like for you, as you're looking at just sort of TVs in general right now, what specs do you feel like matter the most? Like what should somebody care most about for how they should spend their money?
I hate specs because manufacturers lie or fudge the truth a little bit.
Lie's good. I'm good with lie.
Okay, they lie. Like contrast ratio is the most. It's useless. It's absolutely useless, especially when you look at OLEDs because, well, and really LED TVs now too. Black parts of the screen, they just turn off the pixels. So your contrast ratio is technically infinity.
Through the roof, yeah.
Right? Yeah, I mean, so it's useless in my mind. Even with like projectors, it's not really all that accurate. I mean, you want obviously a 4K TV, forget about 8Ks, for probably ever.
So wait, real quick on that. My general assumption about 4 versus 8K is that 8K is better, but is it such a like plateau of diminishing returns that it's probably not worth the extra cost unless you're buying like a gigantic TV you intend to stand 3 inches away from?
That's really the only way you really see all that much difference. And also there's like 8 videos on YouTube that you can watch. Right? I mean, it's just, there's nothing out there to watch in 8K, and there won't be for a really long time. And right now, the only one you can get is Samsung. I mean, people are they've stopped making 8K TVs because they're just not selling.
So is there a spec that you're like, make sure it says this thing on the box before you buy the TV?
So if you like watching movies, I'd keep an eye on brightness. You want over 1,000 nits, which is most major, mid-range and up TVs. In fact, they're doing 5,000 nits at this point for some of them, which is not super necessary at this point. Maybe
talk about seeing
future
in the dark.
proofing.
Goodness,
yeah, it's wild. But you're also looking at like small little specular highlights that are hitting that, if they're hitting that. But the content isn't hitting that generally. But that's a whole other issue. But so if you're watching a lot of movies, I would say you want good brightness, especially if you're in a bright room and you also use it during the day, because you want to counteract the sun or any lights you have on in the living room. I'd look for HDR formats like Dolby Vision or HDR10 Plus, particularly. Those are the dynamic HDR formats. Dolby Vision is more prevalent, although HDR10 Plus has increased, particularly this year, being added to like Disney Plus and stuff like that. Beyond that, you want, if you're gaming, you want a high refresh rate. If you're on consoles, you're going to want that 120. Even though the TV might say it's 120, it doesn't mean that all of the HDMI inputs are 120. Some might be 60. So careful about that. And then if you're doing If you're hooking up your PC, then you might want 144, 165 to get that benefit. Beyond that, I mean, not really. TVs are a lot. They're getting really similar.
Yeah, it seems like that. And
Yeah.
actually that's a thing that I have started to look at more and more, because I think like Neil spends a lot of time on this show making fun of me for my television choices, because he's like, what if I spent many thousands of dollars on a television? And I'm like, I found one on sale on Amazon for $98 and it's 4K. Like I don't understand the problem.
Yeah,
But
I
it does
don't get
seem
that one.
like this like $98 is probably too little, but I do
Little bit.
wonder, like, do you have a rubric in your head for like whether it's a particular set or just a price point of like, here is kind of the bare minimum good TV you can get? Like, are you just out of your mind if you try to get a good TV for like anything under $500? So like, I don't know what the number is, but like,
No,
do you
you
have a
can
sort of
get-
baseline?
You can get 400, especially during sales, Black
Sure.
Friday sales or Super Bowl sales. Those are going to be the times to do it. And you can get a 65-inch TV for $400. That, I mean, is it the best thing in the world? No. Is it great? Yeah. I mean, you can get a good TV for $400 for sure.
Who's doing it the best in that range? Like, what brand would you send me to first?
It's a toss up between TCL and Hisense, really. This year I kind of prefer the TCL sets. So the UM6K, the Hisense U6, both of them are excellent purchases for that price, for $400 or $500. And I mean, I haven't looked at the 55-inch within the past week or so, but I know the 65s are around $450. So you're going to be even less for a 55-inch if you want.
Yeah.
And you're getting decent brightness. You're getting great HDR support. They have, both of them are going to have Google TV, which runs quickly and it has all of the apps. I mean, you need to let them know your blood type and everything, but
That's
it's
par for
Google.
the course now.
I mean,
yeah.
they know it anyway. So yeah, I would go with the sort of low end quantum dot TCL and Hisense TVs. That's sort of like my low, like Insignia should be thrown off a cliff. Any of these like real bargain brands that are $98 for a 4K TV. My whole view is you're buying something that will hopefully last you at least a few years, 4 or 5, sometimes longer. Price it out over how much you're spending over the years, and the cheaper sets will fail quicker, and they won't look as good. And it's just I don't necessarily think it's worth skimping in something that you're going to use that often.
I mean, I like that you put it that way, because that is kind of exactly how I think about it, where I'm like, I realistically kind of going all the way up the quality curve does nothing for me, right? Like, I'm the guy who can't tell a difference between like a $25 bottle of wine and a $250 bottle of wine. So like, I'm going to buy the $25 bottle of wine. But what I don't want is something that either sucks or will break, right? And like sucks, you can suss out pretty fast, but there is a quality way in which you get what you pay for up to a certain point,
sure.
and then that starts to plateau too. So I think that price point seems right to me. And TCL and Hisense are both companies that are like thrilled to give you giant deals around the holidays. So I'm optimistic for everybody on that one. You mentioned Google TVs. Let's talk about that right now, because one of the things I wondered, you use all the interfaces. What's your favorite? If with no other information about what other gadgets I use or anything else, what do you think, just out of the box, what's your favorite smart TV interface right now?
Built in?
Yeah.
Google TV.
Mine too. I would not have expected this to be the case, but I think you're right.
It's been now for the past couple of years. It used to be Roku. I was diehard Roku. But it's also a lot harder to find built-in Roku.
Yeah.
So they came out with TVs a few years ago, and I think when they did that, the companies they were partnered with might not have been too happy about that fact, and made a switch over to Google TV. And so it's almost impossible to find a Roku TV unless it's made by Roku.
Right.
Like TCL and Hisense have switched to Google. Sony uses Google. And it works better.
Yeah.
Than
For me
the
at this
other
point,
ones.
it's the home screen. Google just does a better job of like collating a bunch of stuff you might want to watch in one place than anybody else right now.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of the ads and the suggested content stuff. I kind of generally turn that off on my own TVs if I can. I obviously have to test out how it works when I'm testing a TV, but I'm not a fan of them thinking I'm gonna want to watch something. Honestly, we use Apple TV.
Okay. Yeah.
Don't
I think
end up using the built-in stuff.
Yeah. There's something about turning on an interface just to get to another interface
Oh,
that
for
just
sure.
like in principle drives me crazy.
Well, but what you can do is when you can go into your TV settings, and instead of having it open up on the homepage, you can open it to the last used HDMI. And
that's
so
smart.
when you start off your TV, every time you start it up, it goes to your Apple TV, or it goes to your whatever stick you have plugged into an HDMI that you prefer.
That's a good one. Yeah.
Because that's a great way to get around WebOS and Tizen for LG and Samsung.
On that note, do dumb TVs exist anymore? Like, is this just, can you find a TV that doesn't have any of that stuff anymore?
I mean, yeah, but then you're getting into the, $100 4K TVs. I think like Westinghouse makes some dumb TVs, and I understand the allure for it, but in order to get a dumb TV, you are getting a bad TV. It's just, there aren't any well-made dumb TVs.
Yeah. The advice I give to people is if you really want to do that, just skip all the setup and then just like block your TV from your wireless network. Like that's what I did.
Yeah.
I have a TV I have a Roku TV that is slow and bad and drives me crazy. So I just don't let it connect to the internet, and I use the Google TV streamer, and it works fine.
Yeah. Or get a projector that doesn't have a built-in OS.
Ooh. All right, we're going to come back and talk about that sometime. There is my wife is desperate for us to just get rid of all of our televisions and go full projector. She loses this dream every time I tell her what this dream costs, but it is a dream. But at some point, I want to talk about projectors because I think they are like sneakily interesting technology.
I'm a big projector fan, just to put it out there.
All right, we're going to come back and do this because there is a lot to do here. But my last question is the me question, and this is like sincerely the situation that I'm in. My living room only works if it's set up in such a way that you put the TV over the fireplace. And I have a great philosophical aversion to putting a TV over the fireplace. Like, I hate it, John. I hate it as much as you do. I know this. But
there's
the living room doesn't.
There's a subreddit against it.
I know, but the living room doesn't work any other way. And the good news is the fireplace is relatively low, so it's like I think I saw something that the average TV is mounted like 42 inches off. We're going to mount it like 45. So it's not horrible, but it's a little high. But the compromise has been, in order to not look like a family who has a TV above our fireplace, we're going to get a frame TV so that it mostly just sort of blends in and doesn't sort of scream television above the fireplace. So my question to you is, should I buy a frame TV? If I ask Nilay, he'll give me like a 45-minute speech that ends in, I don't know, yes, definitely do it. So I'm asking you, you're the expert. Should I buy the frame TV or something like it?
Yeah, I notice you're asking this when Nilay's not here.
Yeah, I can't ask this to Nilay anymore. I know the speech. I can't do it anymore.
Okay, so the frame TV and its ilk, Hisense has their own version, TCL has a version, are not good TVs.
Okay. How not good? This is actually an interesting question because this is a relatively well-known rap on frame TVs. Like, I think people mostly understand that they are not good. But are we talking like not as good as what they cost, or just not good?
If you want to watch a movie, that it's not a great experience.
Oof. Okay. That's tough to hear.
Well, the reason, so there are design elements that are important for making these TVs, right? You want them to be thin. You want them to be able to be close to the wall. In order for that to happen, they use edge-lit technology. So instead of there being a backlight directly behind the LCDs, it's shooting light in from the sides and the top and the bottom. So you're not going to have a consistent panel look, especially in blacks. And you're not, there aren't dimming zones, so you can't pinpoint control all areas of the screen. So your black levels are not going to be good. For that reason is number one. Also, they're not going to be good because they have a matte finish, because they need the artwork to look like artwork and not like a glossy screen.
That's like a feature of the thing. Yeah.
It's a feature, and it's an understandable feature. And honestly, the edge lit is understandable too, because if you're looking at art, you don't want it blinding you. So you don't want the direct light. You want the light coming in from the sides. It softens it a little bit. And it allows it to be a little thin. It softens the light. The matte also softens the light a little bit, which also means you're not getting as bright an image. It's with the less expensive ones, being the Hisense and the TCL, you are not getting a very bright image even when it's turned all the way up. And that's just the way it is. But even with the frame, it's not super bright in comparison to other TVs. Will it hold up in a relatively bright room? Yeah, sure. But there's just a lot of drawbacks. The viewing angles are not great, and stuff washes out pretty quickly, like especially on the TCL. The viewing angle is not good.
Is there any room for these to get better, or is this just an inherent problem to this kind of product?
I mean, could they? Sure, but I don't know if the companies are going to put the effort in to make them better TVs.
Right.
When the people that are buying them aren't buying them to be TVs. I have a great
that's the thing
friend.
Eli always says that is true, is what you actually want is not a television. Just don't buy a TV.
You want something that will display art. And, they do a pretty decent job doing that. That's not generous enough. They do a good job, especially like the Frame does a good job. Do I think the Frame Pro is worth it? That's a really tough sell.
Okay.
But even the Frame is pretty expensive. The Hisense is pretty good. I actually have it in my living room right now, as well as the TCL, which I would not recommend buying. If you want to turn off the lights and have a real good movie experience, get something else. Please get something else.
Okay.
It's just not worth it. Get a nice TV that has a screensaver that will display art.
Right. Maybe somebody should just start making really beautiful frames that just go around regular televisions, and then I can be like, "What do you mean? This is a frame TV?" And just
you know what?
Gaslight my family.
The frames that they go around are interesting too, because they still kind of look like a TV with just a bigger frame.
They do. They really do.
Or they're like ostentatious. Like the frame has this really frilly gold frame that you can get around it, and I'm like, I don't live in the Oval Office, so this is not for me.
That's very fair. All right. Well, you've like accidentally successfully convinced me even more that maybe a projector is the answer. So we're gonna have to come back and do that shortly here. But until then, John, thank you for doing this. This is great. I'm excited to have you back. We get a lot of TV questions and feedback, and I think, as you know, this is a tricky thing to figure out how to shop for and manage, and it's a big purchase in people's lives. So we're gonna have to keep doing this. But until then, we're gonna take a break, and then we'll be back. John, thanks a lot.
Thank you for having me.
Be right back.
Support for this show comes from Figma. Figma is the collaborative design platform where teams come together to turn ideas into the world's best digital apps, websites, and experiences. And now, there's a faster way to bring those ideas to life. Introducing Figma Make, an AI-powered prompt-to-code tool that helps you turn ideas into something real, fast. Figma Make is a different kind of vibe coding tool. With just a few prompts, you can turn any idea into a code-backed prototype or app that anyone can explore, iterate on, and share. And it's all connected to Figma. so you can start from scratch or from your design file. Figma Make is made for designers, product managers, and builders who want to move fast and explore more ideas. Try it now and see how quickly you can make your ideas real with Figma Make. Just go to figma.com/Vergecast. That's figma.com/Vergecast. Support for the show comes from Udacity. AI seems to be everywhere these days, and if you want to prepare yourself to be able to use it, Udacity says they can help, no matter what field you're in. Udacity is an online learning platform with courses in AI and tech, including generative AI, Gentic AI, Python, data science, and much more. When you learn with Udacity, you're not just passively watching videos or reading articles. You're doing practical exercises and projects that prepare you for the job you want. That's why 90% of Udacity graduates surveyed say that they achieved their enrollment goal. Udacity just launched a master's degree in AI. You heard that right. And when you have a certification from Udacity, recruiters and employers take notice. So for a better job, better salary, and better skills, you can check out Udacity today. The tech field is always evolving, and you should too. You could try Udacity risk-free for 7 days. You can head to udacity.com/Verge and use code VERGE for 40% off your order. Once again, that's udacity.com/Verge for 40% off, and make sure you use the promo code VERGE so they know we sent you.
Welcome back. Let's do a question from the Vergecast hotline. As always, the number is 866-VERGE11. The email is vergecast@theverge.com. You can come yell at me in this podcast studio that I'm sitting in. We love hearing from you. Get at us with everything. For this one, I want to do some follow-up to a question we took a couple of weeks ago, which was essentially saying, what are the best reasonably cheap earbuds I can buy? Do I go with the alphabet soup stuff that exists all over Amazon? Do I just buy AirPods and live with them? And I asked you for your recommendations, and I got tons of them, and I will put links to a bunch of them in the show notes because I got a lot of really good ones. But I want to call out two things in particular. One is a company called Earfun, which is not quite Amazon alphabet soup, but not that far away from it. But I heard over and over from a bunch of you that you really like their earbuds, that they're relatively cheap, relatively good, have pretty good noise cancellation, that if you want something kind of AirPods-y for a lot less than a pair of AirPods, Earfun. I believe, at least last I checked, that was also the Wirecutter at the New York Times, their recommendation for the best cheap earbuds. So by and large, people seem to like these, and that's a good brand to start with. The other one surprised me, and I want to start just by reading an email. This comes from Sean. Sean says, the easiest recommendation for wireless earbuds ever, the CMF Buds 2 Plus. They're on Amazon right now for $69. Bonus, they're literally what I use to mow my lawn with. IP68 rating, you can wear them while mowing the lawn and sweat isn't a problem. The ANC is pretty good and has an adaptive mode, enough to drown out my gas mower. I also just wore them for the first time on a plane, no issues there either. The Nothing X app, it's a Nothing sub-brand, is amazing unless you customize everything. Battery life is amazing. So yeah, just buy these. I heard versions of this over and over from people the last couple of weeks. And I think the main thing that I came away from this thinking is that people love Nothing's headphones. So there's Nothing, the company that makes the Nothing phone and that kind of stuff. Carl Pay's the CEO. He's been on the show. I think that company is fascinating, and I think their earbuds in general are probably the best products they make. They have the Ear, they have the Ear A, they have a line under the Nothing brand. But then there's the CMF brand, which is this kind of designy, less expensive sub-brand of the company. It's very confusing. It's like a startup within a startup. I don't totally understand why they're doing it this way, but that doesn't matter. CMF stuff has consistently been much better than it kind of has any right to be. There's a CMF phone, which had some really clever accessories, and you could actually snap off the whole back plate. Really good Android phone for not that much money. The CMF buds have been pretty good all along. This is just a company that makes a series of good products at relatively affordable prices. And so if I were to send you at one company for I just want a good set of headphones without spending Apple level or Samsung level or even Google level in some cases money, it's probably nothing. This is the company I heard about by far the most from anybody. Even I expected a lot of people to say like buy last generation Sony earbuds, which I did hear from a few folks, and those are generally very good. Sony revs its headphones so often that you can get a pair that is even like 2 or 3 generations old that is still likely to be pretty new and pretty good. But nothing, the hands down winner of my call for ideas about what good headphones to buy. So to our first caller, Sean, to everybody listening, to everybody who wrote in, to everybody who called, thank you. This has been super helpful. Like I said, I'll put a bunch more ideas and links into the show notes for this episode because I did get a lot of recommendations and want to just share as much as I can. But if you're looking for a pair of headphones, and it's about to be Black Friday, so it's a good time to be doing so, start with nothing. That seems to be the right answer. I hope that helps. All right, that's it for the show for today. Thank you to everybody who was on, and thank you, as always, for watching and listening. The Vergecast is a Verge production and part of the Vox Media Podcast Network. The show is produced by Eric Gomez, Brandon Kiefer, and Travis Larchuk. We will be back here on the Vergecast next Tuesday. We have a lot of fun stuff planned. We got some wild, like, year-end stuff coming up. We're going to have to see how all of our predictions from last year went. It's going to be a ton of fun. Have a great holiday. We'll see you soon. Rock and roll.